no context. What did that look like to you? And no, I didn't just pull those clips out of my ass, guys. Anime has been like this for like, ever. From the average Jujutsu Kaisen viewer, down to the occult serial hentai watcher, I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of these scenes snuck its way unexpectedly into a show you had just been minding your own business, enjoying. Newsflash. This shit is nothing new to someone that's a vet to the space. Is that weird? Am I weird? Just one day before this, the age of consent in Japan was fucking 13. Meaning although looked down on, all of the above was still technically legal. From fetishizing kids in just about every fucking industry. I don't think I forgot about you. It's really not rocket science to figure out that a medium where the limit is your imagination is going to receive the worst of it. And although the tunnel for this conversation is deep and honestly pretty disturbing, anime. I want to talk about just anime today, please and thank you. Japan is pretty different. I know because I've been there. Really, there's next to no other place in the world like Japan. A good thing and a bad thing. On one hand, you have this amazing culture that's jam-packed with some of the most life-changing, inspiring, imaginative art to ever exist. From the architecture, food, and cars. Then there's legal prostitution. They made so many anime games. Fucking sushi. Then there is hentai. Very weird hentai too. Yeah. Now, just like how in every single one of these countries marked, what we would recognize as pedophilia today was legal just a couple hundred years ago. Basically, things change over time as people say, damn, you know what, maybe the slave thing was kinda immoral, or damn, might not be a good idea to, you know, fuck a 12-year-old. So let's have a look at how, in this case, anime shifted over the years. For the good, and of course, for the bad. Wow, there are so many OG anime to pick from here that, well, I wasn't alive to watch. One thing I'm sure we can all agree on is that the human brain has been morally grey, or in better terms, fucked, since we just about spawned. Like, it's why most religions even exist. And most importantly, it's why you can pretty much detect similar patterns in just about everything throughout history. I decided to see if I could detect some pattern for pedophilia in older Japanese anime or manga. A challenging task, I would assume. Not really. One thing I will say though is that because Japanese manga and anime were considerably less popular and streamlined, there were a lot less shows coming out per season, and the ones that were getting released were nowhere near as copy-paste as today. There was no blueprint. No, these were the blueprints. So the first thing I set out to find was, you know, the blueprint for hentai, and in correlation...
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go back home.
The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife. Not only was this the first hentai made in 1814, was also the first tentacle hentai. In fact, erotica novels with pictures can be traced back since, you know, even way before the 16th fucking century. And that's just the first documented case in Japan, guys. Erotica was pretty much a communality in just about every culture, predating way further back than the 16th century. As for the first hentai anime, Susume Fune, an erotic short OVA made in 1932, but sadly outshined by the first hentai anime OVA that actually grew to popularity and is, you know, colored. An anime OVA called Cream Lemon. A collection of surreal stories with different settings and situations ranging from fantasy, comedy, suspense, sci-fi, action, drama, mecha, magical girls, horror, and mystery. And the overriding theme of the series? Sex of almost any kind imaginable. Also, forgot to mention this, but the main character is a person called Ami Nonomura, who just so happens to have an incestuous relationship with her stepbrother Hiroshi. And of course, the cherry on top, the MC as well as many characters portrayed in the show are, you guessed it, underage Japanese schoolgirls. You see where I'm going here? This show is stated to have quote-unquote laid the foundation of pornographic material in Japan. What the fuck are you supposed to do when your beginning building blocks are already incest and pedophilia? predating Cream Lemon slightly as an even earlier pornographic OVA and the true very first adult OVA, but not as popular. You can think of this as, well, I like to see it as like Wilt to MJ, was an anime called Lolita. Yes, you heard it here, folks. The very first sexualized piece of animation released in Japan was already depicting kids. Animation studios actually were influenced and were talking about pedophilic content like it was prime Michael Jordan, and animators at the time even stated, "The flame has now been lit for the future of adult anime." Like all my talking to Deku or some shit. And what can you say? Since all creativity is heavily inspiration based, from here it was already smooth sailing and authors building and adding to not only the themes and worlds that we love so much, but the impressive minds of their predecessors. Heck, it was around this time that the term Lolicon spawned. Like calling someone a lolicon in and itself, like they were trying to downplay it. I get called a lolicon and I'm like, huh? Like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, I just got a golden ticket lolicon? I get called a pedophile or a nonce, and well, I'm socially and financially ruined.
He's guilty. My boy's guilty, huh? Little kids, right?
I'm sure anyone who watched anime can remember underage Bulma and Goku, Hisoka and Gon, even though that was kind of funny. And of course my personal favorite, a great teacher Onizuka. By the way, this is random, but at least give GTO the semblance of respect by saying that it's more about fighting your base urges, and it honestly looks like that kind of culture in many places in the manga. While showing the worst parts of it, of course. Anyways, just wanted to give you all a quick rundown of, you know, how the fuck we got here. What's here? Well, around 90% plus of anime involve only a high school cast. Out of that 90, 10% involve just a girls cast. And you get where I'm going here. Don't fucking fact check me. And defenders will say that it's the cuteness that draws people in, kind of like, you know, what you see in a cat or a dog. Except the last time I truly believed that, the main character got together with and married the girl he groomed for over nearly 20 years as a father figure. Since she was 6.
Well, that's fucking gay.
Let me not even begin on the manga artists that seem to forget to wipe, you know, just a couple of petabytes of data from their PC. Or better yet, the ones who say, fuck it, I've got nothing to lose. Legit completely disappointing not only the fans, but people who believed in them. Yes, this is a small minority. Of the ones who got caught, that is. I can guarantee you for free that it's not that hard to figure out just which mangaka you need to check their hard drives for. Like, they don't exactly try to hide it in their work. Making the argument that maybe these shows were tailored for kids doesn't sit right here either. Because I can rewatch Adventure Time and nearly any other kids show just fine. Except for the ones that clearly got inspired by Dan Schneider. You need to understand, it's grown adults making these shows. If someone that looks 8 is being drawn like this in a show or manga, for absolutely no addition to the plot, as someone who writes on occasion, trust me when I say you write what you dream about. And look, a lot of these mangaka could be playing on what's popular for sales, but that's another fucking problem entirely. Now for the controversial shit. Honestly, don't want to get too dirty here, so please just bear with me. I'm sure if you have a phone or, you know what the internet is, you've all probably heard of something called cuties. And if you haven't, don't even bother looking it up, because it's been taken down from legal streaming platforms. Although I never watched it, it was controversial enough to grab my attention. A show about child pornography that tried to use child pornography to raise awareness about child pornography. Now here's my question. Would a show like that be as heavily stigmatized as it was if it was animated? Animation or art is a beautiful thing. It can create this landscape split from reality that's almost a reflection of the real world, different based on the individual's perspective. It can capture the world the way an artist envisions it in a way that movies and TV shows struggle to accomplish as efficiently and individually. Each depiction of the same thing can be different from person to person. But because of this, there's a very obvious split from reality. Because like a lot of fake acted out media, it's not real. An actor could potentially get hurt scaling a building. Explosive effects can hurt people if not set up correctly. Real kids need to be sexualized to properly portray them exactly as they are. But animated and well, now there's no problem. fuck it, let's go crazy. How could I get that upset if nobody was really here to create what I'm looking at? At the end of the day, what I'm looking at isn't real. Just like that, there's no real need to stop. There's no real need for anybody to be held accountable. Heck, you might as well just keep towing the line, since there kind of is none in a world where your mind is the limit. In fact, what happens when that line is nearly completely gone? When this becomes a staple in the culture, then what? It's creeping its head into more of the mainstream stuff. Now it's weirder for it not to be there. Now, as a brand new person to the space, you're fucking weird for thinking it's weird. Look, I've seen a lot of people have very strong stances on this matter. They say shit like, well, it's not stopping real pedos from going outside and touching real kids. Or, police should spend more of their time stopping real CP cases instead of imaginary ones. Although I agree with all of those takes to a good degree, they capture only a part of the picture. I don't want to walk into a manga store and see a bunch of cartoon CP, not gonna lie to you. Cause that's the end goal when you start giving inches to this shit. You actually need to draw a hard line with it. Heck, the argument could even be made that this shit creates pedos, not suppresses it. Japan still has one of the highest documented pedo rates in the world, not that far behind from the UK. Also, for a medium that's supposed to lower or even stop acts of pedophilia, shit seems to be broken because that shit isn't working for Jack. Like, what other developed country has a well-known goddamn female-only train? So, why risk satiating the thirst of creeps when they're probably gonna go ahead and do what they want to do anyways? Possibly even motivate them. Basically, what I'm getting at is, I really doubt walking into a fictional CP store within a public bookstore with a smile on your face is going to fix or help anyone. Also, cuties would have done perfectly fine animated. That's not even my opinion, that's a fact. Although I couldn't exactly pinpoint why this is the case, seeing a kid sexualized in an anime to me is like seeing an MC get hit by a bus. And I just feel no special kind of way seeing it. Are we fucked? But what the fuck can I do? I don't live in Japan. I'm just here for the anime. Hating on an entire show I loved just because of one scene that was a bit weird, it just seems so fucking unfair, right? Even if I did have the power to cancel the show, would I even? These are shows with aspects about them that are so good they literally change my perspective on how I see certain things in life. These shows have shit like this sprinkled in there. Or the author went and decided to go crazy on kids. What the fuck can I do about that? At the end of the day, I can't change my feelings on the matter. Some disgust, yes. Quickly followed by one of the most emotional, gripping, or badass scenes I've ever encountered in my life. Those are the questions I'm leaving in the hands of each person watching this video. Especially the first one. Because the answer is going to be different for every single person, and I honestly can't force my take of it on others. But I will say this. In 1275, the first age of consent was set in England at age 12. In 1875, the Offences Against the Person Act raised the age to 13. And 10 years later, the Criminal Law Amendment Act in 1885 raised it all the way to 16. And do you know how many decades it took after that for these constraints to actually sit in society correctly? And Japan just made that change a couple of years ago. Like, this is a country that split itself from the world for the majority of its history and had its own culture and laws separated from the world. Don't believe me? Watch Shogun. And frankly, its advancements in many aspects of society from where it once was in the time they had while still retaining their own unique identity is nothing short of stellar. So I really don't want to leave this video off in just doom and gloom. Like, there's case after case after case of people getting away with shit not that long ago in Japan. Now, it's straight jail time as more of these guys make their way out of the woodwork. No matter what, I'm always going to recognize beautiful animation. A gripping, touching story that impacts the lives as well, fan service, I guess. What I'm getting at is nothing's perfect and every industry has its flaws. Looking at the evil behind the good is never going to completely kill the good. And how I view the best of these shows, for me anyways, will probably only ever be idolized and put on a pedestal. Why? Because it was my childhood. But at the same time, I'm not gonna completely avert my eyes either. Bro, that shit was heat. That shit was sus as fuck, not gonna lie. Also, a hard foot most definitely needs to be put down for not just publishing companies, but come on man, animation studios too. Because although the monetary gain is there, or your creator is talented as fuck at what he does, you're not exactly creating good role models when you let these creative ideas pass through. Although many have the wisdom, fortitude, or morals to only be influenced by the good, many will copy and propagate the space with even wider things that will possibly only get worse and worse as that line gets further and further away. As if it didn't already start on the fucking moon. But I've got hope. And yes, not everything is perfect. There always will be a dark side, a second face to the coin. But let that shit stay in the dark. Away from the people that ain't looking at it. So for me, I'll just keep enjoying what I love while trying my best to never put the negative aspects of the industry on a pedestal like so many already have. And I don't know why, something tells me the medium I've watched since I was a bopper will just keep elevating like it always has.